السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. جزاكم الله خير, my dear respect brothers and sisters, for tuning in. Today, بإذن الله تعالى, we're going to be continuing our series of talking about the evidences of the origins of Islam. And today, بإذن الله تعالى, we're going to be talking about something new that unfortunately not a lot of people address. And that's the unique thing about this subject. Not a lot of people address, which talks about what's the basis of our faith. Is our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is it baseless? Is it purely based on blind faith, as you know, as some people might think, or might and sometimes people tend to compare us with other religions in which that the faith within the realm of Islam is based on blind faith. So we're going to be, inshallah, bidnillah ta'ala, we're going to be talking about what are the foundations of our faith and the rationality of the foundation of our faith. So this is something, brothers and sisters, it's extremely important for an average Muslim to understand, because this is the way we confirm our faith. And if our faith is better, then the rest of our deen, the rest of the things that we do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gives it a different taste. It makes the way we look at things different. It gives us confidence in our deen, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So, brothers and sisters, stay tuned. So I'm going to be sharing with you now, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, this lecture, okay? And the name of this lecture, like I told you, it is what? It is the foundation, okay? The foundation in which the belief in the existence and the perfection of God is based on, okay? So this is, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, what we're going to be doing, part of this, okay? All right. So let me try to do this one by one. Please forgive me. Okay, add a stream. Okay. Okay. So the next slide. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, okay, going into what are some of the foundations in which that Muslims believe in, or our faith is stand on. So the complete origins in which the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala existence and perfection rest on many things, as we know within our deen. And it's important for us, brothers and sisters, to identify some of these things, not all of them, because otherwise we will stay here forever. What are some of the things that our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stands on? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about, there are a total of 6 things, 6 bases that our beliefs stand on. I'm not going to make this lecture lengthy. My point is to make this as much interesting as much as possible. So therefore, there are 6 points. Today, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we're going to be talking about 3 of them. And next week, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, we're going to be talking about the other 3. So what are the summary of the principles that our faith stand on? So first one, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Believe in God is a rational necessity. And we're going to be talking about what does that mean. Second one is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in God, is a cognitive necessity. That's number 2. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a psychological necessity. Okay, that's 3. And those are the 3 we're going to be talking about today. Next week, we're going to be talking about the belief in God is a moral and social necessity. Okay. And the next one is the belief is this God is described as an absolute perfect. Okay. And divine perfection is impossible for creation to comprehend. Okay. So these are the total 6 things we're going to be talking about that our faith as Muslims we would stand on. And bi'idhnillah ta'ala, stay tuned, brothers and sisters, because you're going to be learning quite a bit about how our faith, is rooted, within us, and how could we justify to ourselves and to others what our faith stand on, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So let's go one by one, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. The very first principle that we believe in, we Muslims, and our faith would stand on, the principle that believe in God is a rational and innate necessity. The meaning of this principle, brothers and sisters, is that the belief in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His lordship of the universe is not just an emotional issue. So a lot of people think that our belief is just emotional or just a response to what people have, respond against us. But rather, and it's not based just an inferential foundation or mystical psychological experience, but it's a rather what we call, and this is what I'm gonna define it. We call it epistemological fact that is credible and certain and stems from internal instincts that is based on authentic rational foundation, and these stems from certain scientific proofs. So what is epistemological facts? It is, this is the theory of knowledge. This is the way, we end up knowing things, the theory of knowledge, especially, and how to prove things, so the way we tend to the way we utilize knowledge to prove knowledge or prove other things, we call this epistemological fact, and this is the way, and this is the science that we're gonna be using to prove, the basis of our faith with Allah Ta'ala, as believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as believers in God, we have established many evidence that proves the validity of our belief in His existence and His creation and universe. And all of these evidence, brothers and sisters, they're arranged by what we call the principle of innate rational necessity. Okay, so we talked about this last time, that there are certain principles, okay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within us, that are innate, that we cannot live without. It's part of our creation. Okay, and one of these principles, one of these rational innate principles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created within us, it is what we call the principle of causation. Okay, and I'm gonna define that within Allah ta'ala so you guys would understand this. Okay, so what is the principle of causation? Okay, the principle of causation, and again here, trust me, you will learn quite a bit after I get to my point. The principle of causation which designates that every event have a cause. If someone blew on a paper, how the paper flow? By the air of the causer, he blew on it. Someone push a cart, how the cart start moving? Someone pushed on it. So the principle of causation, nothing happened, with no cause. Especially, and here we were talking about creation. For each and every creation, there is a creator. For each and every act, there is someone who act on it. This is a basic principle that we human beings have within us. And we were not learned of this. This is something that exists within us. Again, if even if you look at an infant, if you look at a child, when he sees something moving, he would think this did not move by itself. No one taught him that. This is something naturally that comes within him. So nothing that come into existence from non-existence. Nothing pops out of thin air, as we say it. Nothing comes nothing comes into existence from non-existence. You can't have a universe, unfortunately, as some atheists claim, came out of nowhere. Someone have caused it. So this is the basic principle of causation. And this applies to everything in life. Everything in life. If if I saw a ball flying, someone have kicked the ball. I don't have. This is the way we think. If I saw a pot on the oven, someone have put the pot on the oven. If I saw the water is running, someone must have opened the faucet. If I saw that the door is cracked open, someone have opened the door. You see? So this is the basic principle of causation. Okay? And because of this because this principle, this understanding is deep in the human soul, the belief in the principle of causation and its great influence it has on it. And that's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this matter of instinct, part of our way we are created. And it's imprinted in the humans. And this is part of human instinct, that as soon we see something moving, we think someone has moved it. And unless, subhanallah, unless someone is exposed to outside factors that have changed this train or the way we think. But overall, human beings, all human beings, naturally speaking, they believe on the principles of causation, meaning if something happens, something else has caused it. So therefore, brothers and sisters, a person with normal instincts, he or she, have no need to search for to search for a proof of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if we look at this world, how did it come about? And if we apply the principle of causation, it's natural for us to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this. It's natural, and you'll see through history, and no matter what tribes you go after, it's very rare to see someone who did not believe in God. And then for the most part, even if you look at tribes of people who live in the middle of the Amazon, they believed in a powerful being that created the universe. How did this come about? Because this is part of the principle of causation. How did this world came about without nothing? And this is something innate in all of us, So that's why when we say it's a rational necessity to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and know, and this is part of the way we are created, based on the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within us, He have made there are principles of innate principles that within us that we are born with, and one of these principles is the principle of causation. It's normal for us, and it's rational for us to believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of everything, because this is the way we are brought, and this is the way we judge everything else in this life. If something like it'll be like I said, and I said this in a prior lectures, it'll be someone would be a fool, if he have felt someone punched him, and he would say, "Wow, this punch came out of nowhere." No fool would think that, because if someone punched you, you would look around to search for the causer. Nothing come out of from thin air. No, everything must have a cause, and based on that principle of causation, everything we call one of the first principles that our faith stand on is the principle where we call that it's a rational necessity to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So the second principle, that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believe in God, is a cognitive necessity. What does that mean? We're going to be, inshallah, I'm going to be explaining this to you in a minute. The meaning of this principle, that human knowledge, the way all of human knowledge, cannot have a system, and a regulation cannot be established for itself, and you cannot have a system and a regulation of human knowledge, and the conditions of those regulations cannot be stable nor established unless we have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How is that? I'm going to explain. No sane person opposes the fact that human's life is neither organized nor upright except with a correct knowledge that is disciplined. This knowledge is disciplined in its conceptions and its method of research, and the way we extract it. Let me give you an example. The way we conduct research, the way we find out the truth, the way we experiment, all of these knowledge, human knowledge, there is ways, there is regulations that we go by. There is a set of regulations that we go by, and if there is a defect, if there is a defect in these regulations, it have a dramatic effect in the way we reason, and it would make everything doubtful, and it would spoil our interactions with everything else. So what I'm trying to say here is simple. Human knowledge, the way we extract knowledge, the way we conduct research, have set of regulations. All of us agree. The way we conduct research, the way we reason, the way we experiment, have a certain way we go about doing that. If this method got spoiled, then we are in that we become doubtful of everything around us. Okay, I'm going to give you examples here. It's important, for instance, to have a discipline of human knowledge, and there is no need for its and there is a need for its consistency. So, in order for us to, the way we conduct knowledge, the way we obtain research, and the way we prove things, this method must be consistent. All of us understand that, and all of us agree, because other and that's the way the same method we apply when we, for instance, try to prove certain things in life, a medicine, something that exists, a new discovery. So there has to be a certain way, a certain paths of reasoning that we apply to all of these things. Okay, and this only can exist unless we have what we call mental or rational necessity. Okay, and otherwise, if everything is based on what I think is right or what you think is right, then then this is a disaster. If everything is subjective, and this is the point that I'm trying to hear, if everything is subjective, then we would never agree on anything else. But rather, all of us human beings, we have a set of way we reason to conduct research. There is a pathway, there is a road map of the way we think, the way we operate, the way we reason, the way we conduct experiments. So it must have something. We must have something that we base everything on. And this is what we call necessary cognitive principles. And if these principles got corrupted, then like I said, that we have everything become theoretical. Everything become subjective. Wallahi, I think this medicine works, and you might, if you you say, well, I don't think this is true, and then we'll start fighting and bickering on each and everything, and nothing becomes a fact. Nothing would become a fact, and that's the problem. Okay, so that's the issue, brothers and sisters. All knowledge in this world cannot be theoretical. Yeah, based on theories. Oh, I think this and I think that, and he thinks opposite of me. And otherwise, you have how many people live in this earth? Around 8 billion people. Then everybody will become his own theory, and nothing become fact. And we cannot we cannot agree on anything. But so not everything can be theoretical or based on experience. Otherwise, like I said, it becomes impossible. And otherwise, how does that happen? Why this becomes impossible if everything becomes theoretical? Because everything is going to fall into either two impossible things, either circular arguments or infinite regress. Okay, and I'm going to give you what does these two mean. Okay. So if we say, for instance, that everything is all human knowledge is based on because I said so. Some people say, if I try to convey something to you, if I try to prove things to you, and I said, well, it's true because I said so. We call this, circular argument, and this is one of the fallacies that people would fall into if you think that way. What's a circular argument? It's in which that the reasoner begins with what he's trying to end with, meaning that he tried to prove something with itself. Yeah. Here I gave you an example. If I said if A, then it's B, and then if B, then it's A. Then we follow in a circle. We go forever. Another example. If I said, like, for instance, Mike was the best candidate to be a president because he was totally better than because he's totally better than others. That's a circular argument because I'm trying to prove something with itself. And imagine if I want to do this for each and everything in this world. Well, I believe this monitor is great because it is. No one would believe me. No, we cannot establish. We would not agree on anything. So that's why if we say if all knowledge is based on theories and theoretical, and everything is subjective, we would fall into one of these two fallacies. That we either fall into circular argument, which is a fallacy, as I showed you, or we would fall into something called infinite regress. What does that mean? Infinite regress meaning that an argument poses that you cannot have an infinite amount of preceding events or causes. What does that mean? That I say, for instance, I would say, I try, B is right, A is right because B is right, and B is right because C is right, and C is right because D is right, and D is right. So what do we saw? It's infinite. We go forever, and then again, we would not agree on anything. Yeah, just like the picture I showed you here. If I say, well, this claim is right, and the proof of it is this claim, and this claim is right because the proof of it is this claim, we would go forever. We would go forever, and we would not agree on anything. You see, so that's why it's important that knowledge, human knowledge, must start somewhere, and this knowledge, and we say as believers in God and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, as believers in God, we believe that there is a set of knowledge that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have put inside of us, a set of way to reason that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have put inside of us, that this is the way we communicate with each other. This is the way we understand each other. This is the way, and this is the basis that all of us go back to. Just like for instance, if I give you, let's give this example, okay? For instance, if we say that, instead of human beings, let's apply this example to computers, okay? We say computers have software, okay? Computers, inside of the computer, there is a software, and software are out of two kinds, okay? Just like if we want to apply this to the human beings. Not all knowledge, we say, as Muslims, as believers in God, not all knowledge is attained. There is a certain knowledge that you must have within a human being. Otherwise, you cannot operate. Just like a computer here. Can someone install, for instance, Microsoft or any other program on a computer without a system software? It's impossible. You must have Windows, within a computer in order for you. That's the needed knowledge or the needed software within a computer, and then on top of that, you could install, for instance, Microsoft or video editing software or whatever other software that you like. You cannot install, for instance, Microsoft or Windows Explorer right on the computer that does not have system software. You cannot. It's not going to happen. So the same thing with the human beings. We say that in order for us human beings to think, to reason, there is a certain set of principle cognition that exists within us that make us reason, make us think, make us, judge what is right and what is wrong. For instance, we part of this reasoning, we say contradictions cannot exist. Contradictions cannot exist. You cannot be moving and still in the same time. No one, you are not taught that. This is something innate within you. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala installed within you, So this is the way we reason. And who put this software, who put this, the way that we're able to reason within us is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where knowledge ends. Because otherwise, my point here, if we say everything is learned, we'll fall into one of these fallacies. Either circular argument or infinite regression. And that's my point here. You see? So Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, he helped us and to get us closer to this. What he said, he said the following. He said the evidence that is attained in science, it must end with the necessary innate premises. Like not everything is learned. Yes, we learn. We are born. We learn until we learn until we die. But in the same token, there is certain knowledge that we have within us, and that's what Ibn Taymiyyah is saying here. He said it must end somewhere. For every knowledge is not necessary. Not every knowledge is necessary, and it must end with necessary knowledge. This is not the knowledge of reasoning that we have within us, the way we communicate with each other, the way we deal with each other. The theoretical premises if they are proven by empirical premises, would lead us to infinite regression. If I say, well, I'm going to again, if I'm going to prove this theory with another theory, with another theory, with another theory, with another theory, it's going to be endless, and we would not start anywhere. But there is a set of knowledge that is unlearned. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have put within us. Okay, and for these absolute necessary knowledge that the human being, comprehend with their intellect, they are part of the God's, the nature of God and how He created us, and He made us with this knowledge. They are the origins of all knowledge that a person acquires in his life. And if it has not been there for existence, and if this does not exist, he would not have to able to he would not have to able to clarify many things, and everything would become argumentative, and we would have no things to no basis for us to deal with each other, and everything would become become subjective based on what I think is right, and that's the problem in itself. So the second principle that our faith stands on is that what we call a principle of cognitive necessity, meaning that knowledge has to start somewhere, and this knowledge Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have put inside of us. The third principle, is what we call the belief in God is a psychological necessity. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the fact that we believe in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the fact that we have a Lord, it put us in ease. How is that? I'm going to explain to you. It put us in ease. It makes our life comfortable. It makes our life with less anxiety and depression. How is that? Let me explain to you. So this principle, brothers and sisters, that the person cannot stabilize himself, and his soul would not come down except in the belief in the existence of God. And because and this God, nothing is before him, and he is the last thing. Okay, every human being, brothers and sisters, must have a will and an intention. I have a will. All of us have a will and intention. What does it mean? Meaning why I'm here. What's my goal in life? Okay, why? What's my intention in doing things? Okay, and this is not possible. This is not possible for him to be devoid of this will and intention. It's impossible for a human being, to live a life 70 years and he does not have a goal in life. And it's impossible, because it becomes a burden. If someone does not have this belief, what's his goal in life, it's a real burden. And that's why the belief in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is a psychological necessity, because He's the one who picked this, who created us for an intent. We have a goal in life. We have a will, and because of this feeling, because the feeling of a will and intent is among the requirement of human reality, so no one can imagine that there is a person who does not have this will and does not have an intent. Will and intent, brothers and sisters, can only be imagined with the presence of someone who have give us those things. Because for instance, I wanted to be comfortable. Okay, I wanted to be comfortable, and I wanted to create a chair. So before the creation of the chair, I have a will and I have an intent for that chair. You see. So for something to have a will and intent, you could have one of two scenarios. Okay, one of two scenarios, no third. It's either the intent, something is intended for others, the chair, the creation of the chair, its intent is for me. Okay, or there is something that have an intent for himself. Something have an intent for himself, and I'm going to be talking about these two options. So bear with me. This is very important, brothers and sisters. Okay, attachment to something that is desired for others, would lead us to constant anxiety and constant search for endless demand. And again, if someone have an intent for something else, we're going into the same fallacy of infinite regression. The intent of this is for this, and the intent of this for that, and becomes endless. And if the human being does not have an intent, you don't have a goal. That's why a lot of people, brothers and sisters, they feel anxious, they feel depressed, because they don't see a value of their life. They don't see why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. It becomes boring, like, why I'm here, and that's the issue here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as believers in God, as Muslims, we believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it created us for an intent. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us so we could know Him, so we could recognize that this life is temporary. But if you fall into this, well, this it becomes endless. Wallahi, this A, the intent of A is B, and then the intent of B is C, becomes infinite regression. Same thing here, okay? And that's why it's important to put things in perspective. If this is proven, then it's not possible for a creature to have an intent for itself. Again, and it's impossible for any creation to have an intent for itself. Like the chair, the example that I just gave, the chair cannot have an intent for itself, because the intent was there before its creation. Because at some point, the chair was not there, and maybe later on the chair might be destroyed. So the point here, any creation, something that came into existence, cannot create an intent for itself. You see? The intent was there before it was created. And what do we have left? What do we have left? So it's either all the creation have an intent. There was an intent for its creation before it existed, or something have an intent for itself. Okay, so we have left with something that have an intent for itself, and this must be independent. None of us are independent of his existence, and he does not need of anyone, and no one is characterized by this except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, just to summarize, okay, to have an intent and will, you either can be of two things. It's either you have an intent for yourself, and we say all this only can happen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is dependent. He's in not need of anyone, and he does not depend on anyone, or someone has made an intent for your creation, and this applies to human beings. Okay, so this is the way this is the way things go. For instance, like I said, the intent of the paper is for the paper is there for we buy it for the printer, and the printer for the computer, and the computer for the human beings, and then so it becomes forever. For instance, if I make this analogy in which that the intent of A is for B, and B for C, and C for D, it becomes infinite. It has to stop somewhere, and it has to stop. This chain, must end somewhere. It must start from somewhere, and it has to start from something that have an intent for itself. Yes. Allah, for instance, going back to our example, the intent of the paper is for the printer, and the printer for the computer, and the computer for the human being, and the intent of the human being is made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it have to end somewhere. But if you don't think this is true, then you're gonna fall into infinite regression. The intent of human being is for B, and for this reason, and then the intent of that reason for another reason, and you go on forever. And therefore you lose your goal in life. What's your goal in life? What's your purpose? What is your will? What is your intent? Ibn Taymiyyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he said. He said a very beautiful thing. He said, and if a person must have an intent for himself, then the intent is put forth by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he have put this intent in our heart. And this is the way we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because once we know why are we here, why we exist, it puts us in ease. It makes our life focused. It makes for us a legitimate reason why we are in this earth. In order for us to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order for us to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order to know that we are created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we're here for a reason. Otherwise, it would become, you would become sad, you would become anxious, you will be depressed, you have no reason why you exist. You become just another being. Subhanallah, brothers and sisters, and this is the message to all human beings. If we look around us, everything have an intent. Everything around us have an intent. And this is for non-living things. What about living things? The most sophisticated creation in earth, human beings, you don't have an intent? Who have created you? You came into existence. So if you came into existence, just like we apply this principle to anything in Islam, in this life, if you came into existence, then you had an intent before your existence. And after your existence, after you die, the intent is there. But for you to tell me that you have, you create your own intent, it becomes subjective, and everybody can have whatever he wants. The point here, you before your creation, why are you here? Who created you? What's the intent of the creator for your existence? That's the question that we need to ask ourselves, brothers and sisters. So, inshallah, we'll end here, bidnillah ta'ala. And next week, we're going to be talking about the other three bases for our faith. I hope that you have learned something today. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this setting beneficial for all of us. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.